So my friends are starting to get into like Bert Kreschner's and Tom Segura's podcast recently.
Oh, two birds, one cave?
Yeah.
Dude, like,
They sent me a bunch of like not a bunch of stuff, but like they keep sending me like the clips from when Bert Kreschner admits like he drinks like a gallon of Kool-Aid, just a fucking water jug like that.
it's hilarious because he's like, how much is that? It's like, oh, it's a half, it's like a half gallon or like some quarts or whatever. And he's like, how many of these do you drink a day? He's like, oh, I can go through two of these easily. And then Tom just starts dying of laughter. But even that is just scratching the surface. He'll literally take what he calls pool showers. So he'll just go into the pool with like a bar of soap and he's like, oh, it's fine. Like that's clean. Can you believe that?
It, rich people are weird.
Dude, honestly, like I want to be that rich where I just don't give a fuck. But no, honestly,
Right?
because
Well, his brand revolves around him being that way.
no, I was gonna say because he's always been like that too. That's the thing.
Yeah.
It's not like, oh, it's a new, like, oh, he got rich and then he just like
Yeah,
whatever,
became weird.
Yeah, he's always been like that kind of intense personality, or always been like, if I believe in something, it's got to be right. And then he's like, why change? Like, if it's broke, don't. If it's not, if it ain't
If
broke,
it's broke, don't fix it. That's
if it
what
ain't broke, don't fix it.
that personality is what made him rich. Like those things. So like, there's no way he's gonna. I should probably turn on this light. I'm getting the
There we go.
again. There we go.
Yeah, it's Goodbye, Edward. My people need me. Did I tell Hector to get on? He didn't. He didn't reply. What has Hector got?
I'm just kidding.
Let me see. Where is
Hector's about to get his first Michelin tire.
dude? Literally, I told him like we got to get Hector on MasterChef. Honestly,
Yes.
there was this lady who, after she won, started flossing, and I was like this lady is like 30, maybe almost 40, and I was like,
That's why she's flossing, because she's almost 30.
no, she's almost 40. That's why she's like
That's
30,
why.
almost 40-ish, and I was just like, why would you?
No, but
do
that's why she's old. That's why. Fuck, dude. Like, fuck. That's only like half a lifetime away for us.
half
Anyways.
a lifetime? I'm 23. I had to think about it for a second. 23.
Yeah.
I'm turning 24.
Dude, I thought I was 20. Look, I went to a bar yesterday. I how do you call it? I forgot I was 21.
What'd you tell 'em?
Like they were like, oh, what would you like to drink? I'm like, oh no, all right, I'm 23.
I'm good. Wait, I'm not good. Give me.
I'm not good. Give me. There's this like there's this bar called Hive of Scum and Villainy. It's literally like the Star Wars, the model after the Star Wars cantina. It is so good. It's in Hollywood, and they got like some amazing drinks. It's pretty good. It's not too expensive either.
Well,
What were we talking about before?
honestly, no. And it was funny because I was gonna say right now, like, hey, you're going out in the middle of a pandemic, but then I was like, well, you're vaccinated. And,
I'm vaccinated,
I mean, I'm
yeah.
like over here hoping other people are vaccinated and stuff, but like, because so you know how the CDC said people can now not wear masks indoors and outdoors if they've been fully vaccinated, defining fully vaccinated as 2 weeks after the second shot or 2 weeks after the first shot with like Johnson & Johnson with like the one shot, right?
Yeah.
And I was like, I definitely understand. I don't. I'm just kidding. I don't understand. I would understand if people were honest and open about like, hey, I've gotten my vaccine and stuff like that, but you can't really track those kinds of things. And most people are just gonna straight up fucking lie, or they're gonna be anti-vax anyways and just be like, I got a fake card, so I don't care. Like, people are paying to get fake cards when you can get a free vaccine that actually works. And it's like, I don't understand. It's so simple. You just get a shot, you're sick for like a day or two, or maybe, or you have no symptoms at all, and then you're fine, and then you're protected. It's not like you have to stand in like an hour-long line anymore, because at this point there are shots everywhere. People are getting them 16 and up, 12 and up. Like everyone has easy access to it in the big cities. I'm going to say I'm in the big cities because I don't know how it's going right now in like rural Virginia and stuff like that, where they definitely don't, are most likely are not going to try and get it because they're like, it's a liberal thing or whatever. Right.
Yeah.
But I'm telling you, it's like this, it seems kind of irresponsible for the CDC to say it so early on, because we've only had the vaccine for a few months at this point, and we know for a fact there are people who are straight up refusing it, straight up going to lie about it, or just not, they're not going to be honest and be like, yeah, sure, I got the vaccine, whatever. And you're like, I don't know. I would definitely still not take off my mask. Even if like, let's say, even if my work was like, you guys can go ahead and take off your masks. If you're in the store, it's fine. I would keep it on, like, because I've liked not having a cold. I've liked my allergies not blowing up and everything like that. Because with the mask when I'm outdoors, I like it. My allergies have gone. I haven't been how I have in the past with regards to allergies and cold/flu season, because cold and flu season was actually basically non-existent this year too. They were reporting numbers of like almost nothing because masks do work. And for future reference, I'm always going to wear a mask in the event that I ever get sick. Like let's say it's all over, it's like a year or two later, and then I get a cold, I would put on a mask. They'll be like, what do you have a mask on or whatever? I'm like, oh, because I'm sick right now and I don't want to get other people sick, right? And okay, that makes sense. But right now, it seems kind of irresponsible for the CDC to be saying, hey, go ahead and take off your masks. You're fully vaccinated. Go ahead, guys. Yeah. Like, no, like there are still so many nurses who are against the vaccine. Think about that.
Okay. Hold on. I have to stop you at that point. Like, there's so much that I want to say about what you said before.
Okay.
But on this point in particular,
break it down.
I have to stop you here. Do you know why? Because do you know what kind of people end up going into a nursing program?
The
like,
people that get into like 8-month programs and things like that, right? And like technical schools and
not just that. Look, I know 2 people directly in my life, or almost 3 people directly in my life. One of them I trust with my life. I'm completely fine with. She's like the mom of one of my friends. We're really close. Like I can put trust in her that she knows what she's doing. Like anytime. The 2 other people are or were my friends at one point from high school. One of them believes in the power of healing crystals, chakras, and what's that thing called? She thinks that she's like an empath, I think they're called. I'm not going to say her name,
my
obviously.
eyeballs almost fell out of my sockets how hard I rolled them.
Right? It's like just your brain starts liquefying out of your ear. And like she's constantly encouraged by other people who believe that too. And this person is like a nurse, a medical professional, quote unquote. And like she's like professional. Or I forgot if she was a nurse or an EMT. It was one of those two. Either way, I but yes, the other one, I trust him too. Like even when he's high, he's always because like that's what I remember him as. Like he's one of my close friends from before, and I remember him being liking weed like I did, and he would also drink, and he also drinks right now. But he's still reasonable. Like a story, like just to put it into perspective, a story I just recently heard about him that happened recently. And how do you call it? There was some dude pretending to have a gun on him while he was inside of a car. They just got mad. Like the dude just got mad at my 2 friends because the dude was like jerking it in his car.
Yeah. Wait, start from the beginning with this story. What?
Okay, so my 2 friends were looking for a place to post up, right? It's when you smoke weed outside.
Yeah.
Outside of your house. And they were nearby their house. They were nearby a Taco Bell, of course. And this dude was just jerking it in his car, and some girl passed by and was like, and went to go tell them to call the police. And they were like, we really don't want to call the police because of reasons. So, not to mention reasons. And so they went to go confront the guy. The girl didn't tell them that he was jerking it, I think. I don't remember that part that clearly. And they go. They either catch him or they just see him like trying to quickly tuck everything away. And the dude comes out and tries, because he's Hispanic, the dude, of course he is, tries to act all cholo. And he's just
macho.
like he pretends to get something out of his glove compartment and acts like he has a gun.
And it's like a calculator or something.
Yeah. Well, we never found out what he was holding, but how do you call it? But my friend, the one who's like a nurse or an EMT as well, he decided to just floor it. He floored it on the car, crash into the dude and throw him onto his car,
Oh my-
onto the trunk of his car, of the other dude's car.
Holy shit.
Like, this is the dude, right? This
Yeah.
is the car. Boom! He fell onto the trunk. Like, he hit him onto the trunk of the dude's
damn.
car, and then he just took off.
Well, I mean,
And this is the dude that's that's probably a first responder coming to you if you get a shank wound on you.
hey, I mean, if he's willing to fucking run over the crackhead, it's like,
Yeah?
who's the man who stabbed you? And you're like, he's over there. And he floors the EMT truck. Woo! Everyone gets out of the way, so he then has the power to hit the crackhead. Jesus.
Yeah, so like these are the people that are becoming nurses and EMTs. It's I mean, I still trust this dude to make the correct smart decisions because I've seen him. But if that's all you've heard about him, like that one story, and
You're definitely gonna have second thoughts.
Yeah, you're gonna have second thoughts. So it's like,
God.
yeah, it's a bit like these are the kinds of people that are becoming EMTs, and so like it doesn't surprise me that a lot of nurses are like anti-vax. It does not surprise me whatsoever.
I still like, okay. While it doesn't surprise me, I don't understand how they became nurses if they don't believe in science. Like, I
They
understand
need work.
honestly, dude, like they're not even real nurses. They'll just be like, "Oh, I'm the nurse here," and they're just doing paperwork like all day. They don't actually know
like
anything.
secretary style.
Basically, yeah. Or they'll be like the ones that just draw blood and then take your weight, and that's it. And like,
Yeah.
okay, the doctor will be here in like an hour, whenever he feels like it, And you're like,
Yeah.
I was scheduled for 9:00. It's 11:30, and the doctor hasn't seen me yet. And I've been here since 8:30 because you guys told me to get here early. And
An
they're like,
hour early.
well, we're sorry about that. There's just a lot to do. And then you just, as you're leaving, you see the doctor just sitting at his desk going like, where to golf today? Afterward, are you okay? We're going to die.
Gave me the hiccups.
Dude, but because I'm telling you, I don't understand how does a nurse not believe in science? Because of course, the top scientists, the top doctors of the entire world came together to manufacture, engineer, test, to do this, and
Yeah.
yet you have Miss Ramirez over here going, no, I don't think I'm gonna put that in me because it doesn't seem safe. Like, if
There's only one argument that I can understand, and it's the fact that they feel that more people in a more vulnerable place should get the vaccine first. But at this point, we're a little bit past that, especially because like I just sent you an email I got about an hour ago. On Discord, I sent you an image of it.
Oh,
12 to 15-year-olds are now eligible for the Pfizer BioNTech vaccine.
yeah, the Pfizer one.
Yeah, the Pfizer. So literally, basically, like, and those were like the least vulnerable people. So now literally everyone can just go and get one. There's no excuse now.
That's what I was going to say
And
too.
it's just-
Because at the beginning, when it was first being rolled out, it was okay. At-risk people, if you have health issues, if you're older, like all those people have the reservation for first in line, basically.
Yeah.
And then it just basically went down. Okay, it was like 70 and older, and then like 60 and up, and then like 50 and up, and then it slowly
And then
goes
like
down.
people in dangerous
As available.
jobs. Yeah.
First responders, frontline workers, like retail people and things like
Essential
that.
employees.
Essential employees and all those kinds of things. But
Yeah.
now, like you said, it's at the point where it's like, go to Salt Lake Park and we're having Pfizer, like the good vaccine. Like we're having Pfizer vaccines. Because at the beginning it was like, you get whatever you want. You get whatever you get. It's like, it's whatever.
Yeah.
But now it's at the
That's
point.
what happened to me. I got the Johnson & Johnson.
Yeah, Johnson. Like we're trying, we're getting there. We make baby
Yeah.
powder and vaccines, but yeah, it's like, okay, everyone has had a chance to get to it. Like if you haven't gotten it at this point, yeah, sure, people can be busy, sure, things can come up, but it's like, come on, like,
Yeah.
it should be a priority if you want things to return back to normal.
All my homies get the COVID-19 vaccine.
Exactly, dude. Because it's like it's a science. You can't say
Science.
you can't be like, well, they made it too fast. And it's like, they didn't make it too fast. It took us like a year to get here, or a little over a year to get here. And on top of that, it's not like they're baking it from scratch, you know?
This is another eat the rich monologue for now.
Exactly.
Because do you want to know what? Okay.
We'll get there. We'll get there. We always do. We'll get there. But it's like, at this point, okay, they built it off of like a flu vaccine, off of like another existing medicine. They tested like the efficiency of the flu shot against it. They tested all these kinds of things. And once they tinker with it, they mess with it. They're not like, we're just going to start from scratch. It's completely random. Fuck it. Put it inside you, you know? It's literally like, okay.
This mysterious liquid inside of you.
Exactly. It's like, we have the blueprint for it. We just need to modify it so it's effective against COVID. And on top of that, any of its new variants. Because you've seen recently too how it's like, okay, there's like a mutation. Because it's been around for longer than a year at this point. The first recorded one was like in November of 2019 in China. And so, of course,
2021.
If it's being killed or people are getting resistant with their antibodies, it's going to mutate. It's going to change. That's what a virus does. Like,
we have 7 different strains now of the COVID-19 variant. We have the South African one, the Europe or the one that originated in Britain, one that originated in Thailand, I think, one that originated in, I forgot which country. There's a lot. There's quite a few. And I think Pfizer is effective against all of them except for the South African one.
Pfizer. I know. Pfizer. Let me see.
Pfizer.
Oh, 5 hours ago. That's funny. So there's variants in the United States. There's oh yeah. So there's, okay. United Kingdom, South Africa one, Brazil.
Brazil.
There's a California variant too. That's crazy.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that one.
I
didn't think it was a California one.
Yeah, because it says there were 2 variants that were first identified in California, so that's why they're probably calling it the California one. But like you said, you never know where it exactly comes from. But still, the point is there are variants, and so of course it's still going to be a long process before we can get back to normal. And that's why, to go back to my point, I still think it's really. I know they're the doctors, I know they're the experts, but I still think it's irresponsible knowing how people are, you know? Because also,
they are. It is irresponsible because, like you said, like people are just gonna lie. Like even before this, I had like everyone else, I was under this illusion that people cared about each other, so they would probably tell the truth and wear a mask and stuff like that. But especially considering this last year, how many mask people there like came out of the woodworks. It's like you can't trust them to be vaccinated.
You had some sort of faith in humanity, right? Before the pandemic started, because everyone was like posting on social media, oh my God, guys, we're gonna be in here for 2 weeks. Oh my God, guys, okay, everyone bunker up for like the next month. Oh my God, guys, we're gonna like just chill and relax. But then you start seeing like the crazy people, everyone taking all the toilet paper, everyone buying out all the canned goods, everyone buying out like. This lady bought like, I don't even know how many bags of flour. And I was like, in my head, I was like, the hell? Like, are you going to use 1 bag of flour in a month? Like, I don't think so. Like, it's so dumb because at the beginning of it, in my head, I was kind of like, in my head, I was like, oh, it's not even going to be that bad. But also I was like reassuring myself by being like, well, the supply chains haven't broken down. Because of course, like a truck driver and everything, they're going to be isolated except for when they're like, they deliver the stuff basically, right? It's not going to be
even then. They can still be isolated. They just drop it off, close off the door, and then the other people come in.
They pull into the back, unlock it, get back in the cab. They take it out. It's very easy because also on top of that they're outdoors. But it's like in my head I was like, well, I know for a fact supply chains aren't going down. So when everyone's freaking out, I was like, all the fresh fruit is still there, and I'm like, people can just buy it and freeze it, like But okay, so
you can create your own like long-term food if you really thought it was going to be bad.
Exactly. Yeah. And I mean, so with that, you start seeing, like you said, all the anti-maskers coming out of the woodwork, people going, oh, this isn't even real. Like after the first like 2 months, once we're like 3 months in, you start realizing people don't give a shit about each other. People are selfish in general. And they're like, you saw them just going out and partying and going out for like, there's not even spring breaks, but actually, no, yeah, that was spring, because it was started in the lockdown, technically started in March, and April and May, people were like, oh my God, guys, let's go out for summer, where beaches in Florida were packed and stuff like that. Disney World was like reopening and everything, and it's like,
come on, dudes.
I don't understand. I do not understand how other people can be so, well, I mean, I definitely understand how people can be so selfish, because like you said, we're getting to the eat the rich part right now, but
Yeah,
how
we're
people
getting to
can
eat
be
the
so
rich.
selfish, because you'll see people will literally just hoard generational wealth. Like
Yeah.
there was this meme where they were like, if we saw a monkey taking all of the bananas away from the other monkeys and hoarding them and putting them away, scientists would study them. When humans do that, they get on the cover of Forbes magazine.
Yeah.
And it's
Yeah.
like,
I think I saw that one
Yeah.
too. Yeah. That's exactly it. Dude.
any behavior that you see in a human that most people think is like, well, that's not that weird, right? It's kind of normal. Once you compare it to an animal, you're like, wait a minute, animals shouldn't be doing that. And then you're like, wait, humans shouldn't be doing that either. Like, you know, if it's like, I'm not going to say, oh, humans are animals, so we all got to like eat shit and stuff. No. But I'm saying if someone is literally hoarding multi-generational wealth, like Bill Gates, we talked about that last week too, right? How Bill Gates was like, even though he's getting divorced and he's giving his kids like
He's still
only
one of the
$10 million. No, not even that. He's only giving the kids $10 million or whatever, right?
Yeah.
But he's not just giving his kids that. They have his name.
Yeah,
Just
they have
their
his
name alone is going to let them get into universities, get into any job they want. They can just be some bullshit consultant, and the company will be like, "Oh, we have Bill Gates' son on our board of directors, and he doesn't actually do anything." But yeah, exactly. Like we have Bill Gates' son. It's okay. He doesn't do anything.
They love to stroke themselves, dude. It's just
People would rather stroke themselves. You know, oh, they like to stroke themselves. Don't they stroke themselves? They stroke each other. They get stroked. They stroke the boss strokes them. Everybody strokes everybody. It's nothing but a big stroke job in this country.
Literally, like they don't even need him to do anything. As long as he's there, the company can claim, we have Bill Gates' son on our board of directors. So that's how you know this is a
their
good
stock
company.
price is gonna go up.
Exactly.
Because people trust the name Gates now.
The name alone, like
The name, like literally, if Bill Gates left nothing to his children, the children would still automatically be millionaires simply because of basically the positions they'll be given.
Yeah. If he kicked them out with the clothes on their back and a cell phone, they would just call up one of their friends or call up someone and be like, "Hey, so I need a job." Okay, you're Bill Gates' son. That's all you need in your resume. You don't need anything else at all. At all.
Nothing. You don't need anything.
The name, he's created so much wealth and so much power from that wealth that his name is valuable. His name is the asset at this point.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter how much money he throws away, how much money he's investing, all that kind of stuff. And apparently he had ties to Epstein, so
Yeah,
there goes that.
Apparently, that's the reason why Melinda divorced him.
Yeah. Isn't that crazy?
Because
She
he
started,
wasn't
like, a
telling
year
her the
ago.
truth about,
Because once the revelations came out that he had ties, she started like a little while afterwards. Allegedly. Reportedly, because this was reported. It wasn't alleged. It was reported.
Reported, not alleged.
Exactly.
Not proven either. Reported. That's
Reported. Exactly.
Reported.
Like in South Park. It appears we're reporting a lot of cannibalism and killing people. Oh my God, you've actually seen people eating other people? No, but we are reporting it. And it's like, it's been reported, but it hasn't
It's
been
been
confirmed.
reported, yes. It's not even alleged yet.
Exactly.
Reported.
Like
We all know how weird people can get. I was gonna say something and I completely forgot. Like I lost my train of thought thinking about like Bill and Melinda Gates for some reason. It's just slipped my mind.
Well, you were going to say something else about this. So when I was saying like the CDC is being irresponsible and people are going to be selfish and
Oh yes, okay. So two things on that. First, I agree. It's really irresponsible to the CDC because now all hope of humanity is just gone. But also because they're basing their advice off of the statistical data of the entirety of the United States. So they see that the average or whatever, like the percentage of people vaccinated and all this stuff is like really it's starting to get high and it's starting to get good across the whole country. Mm-hmm. And they're not taking into account that communities like that their recommendations apply from the top down, right? Mm-hmm. But you don't get a top down view by just accounting for the entirety of the United States. Because the percentages in a lot of like individualistic communities, like let's say South Central right here in LA, they're far below the state average for people who are vaccinated. Like Black communities in particular are really under-vaccinated. And the CDC, if the countrywide thing was like how most Black communities are, where they're really under-vaccinated, the CDC would be making completely different recommendations. Mm-hmm. So their top-down recommendations don't work.
Yeah, because I was also going to say like there's tons of communities and things like that where you'll have easy access to it because, you know, they'll be like, hey, we've got it at this park, at this library and things like that, right? But do you really think like there are really bad parks in South Central where there's just homeless encampments and things like that? Like I know they have homeless encampments in Hollywood along like freeways and things like that, but you also have to remember it's mostly working class people there. And they're like, you get your free Pfizer vaccine from 9 a.m. to 12 p.m. on like a Friday afternoon. And it's like,
yeah, and they're working then.
Yeah.
They can't go get it. They physically can't be there.
Exactly. Like
It's either they're protected against the virus or, they starve.
Mm-hmm. Because imagine like, do you think you're really gonna have time to be like, hey boss, I need like a day off work and things like that? And they're like, well, no, you gotta keep working or else you're gonna lose your job. Exactly. Like, and then that's also interesting because right now there's tons of places that are closing or offering things to get people to work because no one wants to work anymore because of it's not an unemployment problem, it's a wage problem. If they're making more unemployment, that doesn't say the government's giving them a lot of money. It's saying you're not paying them enough. Yeah. There was eat the rich.
Like, okay, so two things. You know what's my favorite version of that? Applebee's giving free appetizers.
I was just about to say
people who go in to get like to go for interviews. It's like
just about to say that.
Fuckers will literally do anything except raise what you pay people.
I saw that too. It's like they're trying to offer an incentive to come and get a shit job, and it's a one-time incentive. It's not like, hey, you know what? We're going to pay you guys livable wages because we know in the long term it's going to be better for us. Because if we're closed for a week, we're losing out on all this money, all this inventory and stuff like that. Or we pay you a living wage. How's that?
Yeah.
And then McDonald's was like, you get $50. You get $50, right? If you come in. And since they get all your information for the interview, and you have to accept the job to get the $50, right? And if you refuse the job, then McDonald's is going to report to the unemployment office that you refused a job, and then you're going to lose your unemployment. So that's
and then they'll be forced to go to work for McDonald's.
Exactly. Like
or
either you have to
like
or you lose your unemployment, right? But I was also thinking because since the start of it, they've said that you can refuse a job if you feel that you don't feel safe in that environment because, like, say the workplace hasn't taken good enough space, right? Or like hasn't placed the right sort of precautions against it, right? But now that the CDC has said you can be indoors without a mask, that's basically out the window because McDonald's is going to be like, oh, well, you can actually be without a mask as long as you're vaccinated with CDC. And you know what? You're going to have to do it. And you're like, I don't want to work this wage slave job, like right here, I don't want to say we're lucky because it's a higher cost of living. So that's why it's like $14 an hour minimum wage right now, raising to 15 finally in July, right? But there's so many other places. Think of this.
You want to know one place I never see understaffed?
Where?
In-N-Out.
Because they actually pay them a good wage.
I was gonna say, I wonder why. And then I was gonna a sign outside almost every In-N-Out is like $16 minimum, 401k, Medicare, and dental. And there was like a whole bunch of lists of other benefits.
The retirement plan. Everything that In-N-Out is gonna give you when you get hired totally outweighs the straight cash that unemployment's gonna give you. Like, you're going to be, it's always going to be busy there, and they're always going to have the money to make it because of the quality of the product. Same thing with Chick-fil-A. Chick-fil-A has like tuition reimbursement, everything like that. Like, well, my cousin, she worked for In-N-Out and she got her tuition reimbursed and she has like all her benefits and everything like that. Like, she can basically support herself and my aunt and like the living place by herself basically because of how well they pay. And
that's what minimum wage was supposed to be. The goal of minimum wage was supposed to be for
there's so many, I've seen so many posts of people saying the same thing of it's like, hey, whenever someone berates a minimum wage job and says, well, they should be making minimum wage, you're basically claiming that they shouldn't be able to live off of that job and that job is beneath you.
Yeah.
And there's so many posts of the same thing of saying, people making $25 an hour are worrying that $15 an hour is too much instead of worrying that the millionaires are making too much and maybe they should make a little more an hour, Because it's like, if you spend your entire life going, I'm making 25, why are they making 15? Why should they make 20 for minimum wage? That's dumb. Why shouldn't I make more? Oh, wait, did you hear that? Why shouldn't I make more? Maybe you should make more based on the value that you're giving, not on like, I'm sitting here for 8 hours a day, 40 hours a week. Oh, I'm looking productive. Productivity has gone up while wages have stagnated, while CEO bonuses have inflated out the wazoo.
Here's the thing, because that's what capitalism is. Capitalism is intrinsically everyone else has to fend for themselves while rich people benefit from socialism. Because that's essentially what capitalism is. It's socialism for the rich, and everyone else can just
Capitalism for
fuck
the poor.
off.
Yeah. Because it's always also going to be a race to the bottom because unfortunately that's how marketing and things work. It's like, hey, my thing is $10. Well, mine's $9.99. Well, mine's $9.95. And then by the time you get to the bottom, you're outsourcing most of your stuff. You're like, oh, I'm getting stuff made by little kids in China just to make my shirts $1. Like, you can't, like you said before, you can't have ethical capitalism because the companies are inherently going to race to the bottom, make sure their profit margins are super high, keep the shareholder value high because apparently shareholders are what you want to keep happy. But In-N-Out has learned that you have to keep the customer happy. You keep the customers happy with a good product. Like the workers are, I'm not gonna say the workers are like happy, but they're definitely not like, the difference between service at a In-N-Out and a McDonald's is definitely noticeable. But of course, because the McDonald's people are working 24 hours a week, like not even, they'll be working like 3-hour shifts and just have to come in to just fuck off for like 3 hours and no benefits, nothing at all. Meanwhile, In-N-Out's fully staffed. People know what they're doing. They're on top of it, you know? Like, people try and say it's a low skill job. Okay, Karen, I'd like to see you prepare a burger order in under 5 minutes. Like,
I was gonna say, there's no such thing as an unskilled job. There's no such thing as unskilled labor. Well, I mean, technically there is. Landlords are unskilled labor.
well, because I mean, I was gonna say I don't want to be a bootlicker, but because to be fair, landlords do have to like, let's say, take care of properties, and well, I guess that would be a property manager instead. So
yeah, well, like here's the thing. So, some landlords, like say me and my dad, we take care of the maintenance, right? But that's not the job of a landlord, quote unquote. That's the job of the maintenance person, which is what we do. We function as two roles, the landlord and the maintenance person. The value of our labor comes from the maintenance, which is how we justify owning the land and being a landlord. But the landlord literally it's a job so unskilled a newborn can do it because all you do is own the property, have your name on the piece of paper, and collect the rental income. Yeah. So it's literally one of the very few and only jobs that are genuinely unskilled.
Because all you have to do is exist. That's it.
That's literally all you have to do.
Like, let's say you have a rich dad and he owns land. He's like, son, this land's going to be yours. Why? Because it was mine before that. Whose was it before that? My father's before that. And it's just, that's it. It's just like, it's like a monarchy. It's a monopoly on land by inherently people with money, you know? Because I understand too, like, okay, I'm not gonna say, oh, Edward, you're a landowner, so you're rich. You know, it's not like that. But it's like 99% of people that are buying land are not buying it to live in. They're buying it to just, okay, I'm just going to outsource this and stuff like that. And it's like, it's whatever. I'm just going to raise the prices and upkeep. Who cares about upkeep? Because you hear so many horror stories about that, how they're like, so,
those are slumlords. And I want to make a key difference. Landlords are garbage. Slumlords are worse. And like, there's a distinction between bad and worse. Like that's one key thing. Like, if you at least like do your job as a landlord the way you justify your job, you're still a landlord. You're still kind of scum like I am. But slumlords are like just awful people. Like a lot of landlords are just placed in a situation where if they don't play into their like land and stuff, like me, like you don't really have a lot of options, to be fair. Like you have to inherit that land if you want to make a decent livable like living, especially since you grow up with that. But you have to at least do the repairs. You have to at least do your job as a maintenance worker.
Yeah, you got to do something. You got to give so that you can take. Because like you said, there are some landlords who just take, and that's it. And they're just like, it's the first. Where's my money? You told them a week ago, but the trash isn't fixed. Oh, like in Spider-Man, you'll get your rent when you fix the damn door. Like, seriously.
Like the only time there's any like we try to handle all the repairs like ASAP. If like there's like the tree over there was like kind of like starting to hit the telephone line and causing problems.
Oh no, you gotta take care of that.
Like this weekend, we like the weekend of that when that started happening, we just snipped it. That's it, because we can't have our tenants be living in garbage holes.
Exactly.
Because we're not horrible people. We're landlords. We're scum. We're not horrible people. Like there's a difference.
Yeah. But like, I mean. I don't know.
Honestly, it's the greed. It's the greed of people. And like this was the other thing that I was gonna say before, like when we were first starting to get into Eat the Rich, when someone says, oh, they made it too quickly, the question we should be asking isn't how they made it so quickly. The question we should be asking is, why does it take so long to make a vaccine in the first place? It takes 10 years to make a vaccine, and it's because they don't have the funding necessary to create a vaccine.
They have to beg for
it was
funding.
a worldwide pandemic where they gave them all the fucking money, and they were able to create one in a year.
It's a united effort. This one is a united. People can't seem to understand. This was a worldwide effort by the top scientists, top doctors, top everything. People were dying in like just waves of bodies, like kind of like, you know, India is pretty bad right now because they don't have the same type of infrastructure to like distribute that kind of stuff, or just honestly, sometimes it's cultural issues where they're like, oh, if I wear a mask, I'm not going to seem macho and things like that. And, you know, things can happen like that. But it's like, people don't understand that scientists have to beg for funding and be like, so I need some funding to try and see if we can do a test. And I'm like, okay, we'll come back to you in like a month or so, or like 2 months if they're lucky. These aren't real numbers, but you know, we'll come back to you in like 3 months or something. Okay. And then you keep doing your research in those 3 months. And then 3 months later, they're like, so we've approved you. And in 6 months, you'll be getting your funding and your team. And you're like, okay, then. But this one was like,
it's like, how am I going to eat during that time?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Like if the Black Plague had came out now, of course, people are going to be like trying to cure it. People aren't going to go, oh, the Black Plague.
Well, the Black Plague still exists.
Yeah, but like, I mean,
it still infects a lot of people. It's not widespread, but the reason is preventative measures like hygiene. It's not like the plague itself disappeared or stopped being as deadly or as infectious. It's just that we now know about like hygiene. And we're not living with like literal rats all over the place, like on our bodies and shit.
Yeah, because I mean, back then they didn't have have antibiotics or anything like that, and so I was checking it, and according to the CDC, you know, it can be treated with antibiotics, and they work best if given within 24 hours of the first symptoms. So it's like, yeah, the bubonic plague is still around, but you're not going to die from it because of modern medicine, because of the advancements. Like there was this dumb bitch who was like, oh, no one needed masks or vaccines when the bubonic plague, and it's like, Becky, 2/3 of the world died. Like, the bubonic plague is why people have last names. I found out this because, because people, whenever peasants were born, they would just be named John. And that's it. Because if there was John from somewhere else, they would never meet, because you're born in a mud hole, you die in that mud hole. You work around that mud hole. That's it. That's not like, I'm going to go down to the town next door because you need a horse, and rich people have horses, or rich people have transportation. Poor people aren't going to have transportation. Exactly. No. It's, rich people always had last names because they'd be like, Anastasia the Third of England or whatever, or like someone Buckingham, stuff like that,
to denote the difference between them and the commoners.
Because there would also be King George from like Germany, King George from Britain, and then like all the different Georges, right? But since that happens to common people don't interact with other people. So John from here is John from here, and if there's John that's like a son of someone else, it'd be like, oh, that's John, someone's son, and that's it. But then that slowly started evolving into, so the bubonic plague killed most of Europe, as we saw that, right? As we all know from last week, the bubonic plague. Facts. Edward was there. And so
I was there.
Because
I caused it.
Exactly. So because of bubonic plague,
part somewhere, and it's kind of spread.
Exactly. Like, oh man, you get to eat some bad Chinese food, and the bubonic plague just comes out.
Yeah, man. Sometimes it just leaves your body. I mean,
exactly. You've got to exhume yourself.
Never eat 3-week-old dumplings.
Honestly, dude. But 3-week-old dumplings are what the Japanese were eating during World War II, if you know what I mean.
Oh, fuck.
Cannibalism.
Fucking hell.
So the last names, right? The bubonic plague caused last names because everyone had died. So people had to start offering higher wages, and they would be like, hey, I'm going to pull John over here from this town and pull him over here because I know he does good work. And so in order to start distinguishing themselves, they started adding their working things to their last names. So it'd be John Smith. He's the Smith. John Carpenter. He's the Carpenter.
I know that part.
Exactly. Yeah. And so that happened. And so you start getting all these people gathering because they're being pulled in from the smaller cities, pulling in because there's no longer workforces, and they hear, hey, in the city they're paying like a lot more gold or whatever, a lot more coin to make a better living. And that's how you started getting like these little centers of people, and everyone, of course, if they have different different names, you can't just distinguish them as like, oh, that's John, someone's son. That's John, someone's son. That's no. Now you start going John Carpenter, John Smith, John Bookkeeper, or whatever, right? And that's how that's basically why they started using them, because of the bubonic plague. So, thank you for coming to my TED Talk.
Yeah. Also, it's incorrect that the no one used masks in the bubonic plague. People did use masks.
We
know the stereotypical mask is the fucking beat. People did use masks. Like it was a different theory behind it, because they noticed that like a lot of that when people died, strange odors would come out of them, and so they thought that it was miasma and that also was causing the illness. So they wore masks to prevent it. Now we know the truth, that it was actually germs and stuff, and shit, like the infections basically, and that the masks did actually help, as long as like they're proofed for that sort of stuff.
Because they didn't just wear masks. It was the masks with the smocks and the gloves, and they'd be like,
protected from it. And it's like we had an idea that what was causing it was some sort of like invisible thing that we couldn't see, because people like doctors and shit, plague doctors, were wearing masks, and they were wearing they obviously, because they thought it was like the miasma and the bad smell, they would put like perfume and flowers inside the beak. That's why it was so long. But they did wear masks. We've been wearing masks since the bubonic plague. Like
literally, like the only
we know this.
This is like. Oh, I mean, even when the Spanish flu passed by, there was like anti-maskers, and then there was people who were like, if you don't wear a mask, you can't get on this trolley, or things like that.
People got arrested or fined, for not wearing masks. But also, you do know that two interesting facts that I know about the Spanish flu. You know why it's called the Spanish flu?
Why?
Because Spain, I think, was one of the only countries that was reporting on the plague, because everyone else was involved in World War II, I think, or World War One.
World War One, I think, yeah.
World War One. So because everyone was fighting, the only country to report on it was Spain, and so it was called the Spanish flu. But it wasn't just Spain that got it. Almost like a huge percentage of the war's deaths were attributed to the Spanish flu. It killed more soldiers than actual combat did. A huge percentage of the people that died from the flu, not the war. But America in particular sold the idea that it was the war killing all those people, and so they covered up any hint of the plague.
Damn, yeah. So roughly 17 million people were killed during the First World War. An estimated 20 to 50 million people died. Holy moly!
A huge percentage of people died from the flu.
President Woodrow Wilson got the flu. That's hilarious. Did he die? No, he died later on. But he caught it. He caught it.
Okay. Also, it's estimated that the only reason the Spanish flu died down, because they didn't take a lot of preventative measures and they couldn't stomp it out. It's estimated that the reason that, or some doctors and stuff estimate that the reason that the Spanish flu died out was because it literally died out. Everyone that it could possibly kill got killed, and so there was no more viable hosts for it.
That makes sense, honestly, because once the virus goes through everything, if it doesn't have time to mutate, it just. And back then they didn't have the same kind of, obviously no such thing as modern medicine. Then when did fucking penicillin get invented? Or it's also
pretty old, but not that old, I think.
Let me see. Antibiotics were invented in 1928. Penicillin was discovered 10 years after the flu. So yeah, but also this is the flu is flu virus, or
about 20 years.
But it's 10 years. 10 years basically, because in 1918 influenza pandemic, and up until like the late 1800s, doctors weren't even washing their hands before or after surgery. So they would just come in and they'd have like dirt or whatever they have on their hands and just start operating on you. And then why do you think so many people went septic
for like 30 minutes and now all that just seeping into your blood?
Exactly.
It's
like I don't know. It baffles the mind, because you think nowadays it's like, well, duh, you got to wash your hands. But people couldn't even conceptualize germs or things smaller than like, oh, how can something be smaller than me? That makes no sense, And it's like, it's very hard to conceptualize it when you have no previous, what's it called? Reference. When you have no reference. when you have no
it's
reference to
also
something.
it's also people like when you're so used to things a certain way, you don't want them to change.
Exactly.
It's possible to be purposefully ignorant about you being purposefully ignorant about a subject.
Yeah,
Like
and
it's this weird
subconscious.
thing.
You won't even realize
because
it.
like okay, like I'm an odd example, but like let's say the average meat eater, like they kind of know that if they were to look into factory farming, their displeasure from knowing about factory farming is gonna kind of outweigh their love of meat. Or like the displeasure from not eating meat. So what they purposefully do is they just ignore the subject and they don't notice that they're ignoring the subject. Because if they really took it into account and everything and they kept focusing on it, they would turn vegan or vegetarian at least in order to like prevent the chickens and stuff and the cows from experiencing all those horrors.
Yeah.
There's like a video. Let me see if I can find it really quick. I saw something on this recently.
Yeah, because I have no problem with it, honestly, but it's just that at this point, like Beyond Meat is just too expensive for me to personally justify switching everything over, you know? Because I've tasted the Beyond Burgers and stuff like that, and they're like, oh, they're great. They taste just like regular burgers. But for the average consumer, like I told you, that's how marketing's going to beat them. Hey, Beyond Meat is $6.99. Why would you buy that when regular meat's still $3.99 a pound? Like, what are you doing, idiot? You're gonna spend $3 more to save the planet? Nah, fuck that. Just make your burgers like you've always made them. It's a combination of all those things: fearing change, not understanding the product, or just straight up not being able to afford it sometimes.
Yeah, it's like there's roadblocks in between, and the way that you get them to accept and not go over those roadblocks is by allowing them to remain ignorant. Like allowing themselves to convince themselves that they're ignorant, because that's like the YouTube video that I just sent you brings up a really good point about it, which is that's what the cigarette companies did. All they had to do was make sure that give people plausible deniability. So like they would fund research that that would end up inconclusive. Basically, they don't have to say that cigarettes don't cause cancer. All they have to do, like the burden
it
that they have to
doesn't
meet,
technically cause cancer because we haven't technically been able to definitively prove it, right, guys?
It needs more research. That's the only answer that they need. It needs more research, and that allows the public to be like, "Oh, it needs more research, so this death stick probably isn't killing me."
Or they'd be like, my doctor smokes this, so that's why I do." Or ever since I started smoking, I lost like 30 pounds, and it's like, of course, it's the beginning of the stuff. So remember, because in the beginning it was like tobacco and natural tobacco was like fine and whatever, but it's the nicotine that made it so addictive, but also the breathing it in, which made it so terrible. And you don't see cancer until like 20 or 30 years later. So once you start seeing the cancer effects and everything, you're like, I smoke with my baby because it keeps it'll make the baby, it'll keep the baby underweight, which means it's an easy pregnancy for me to push it out. And it's like, the doctor told me
is it
my
underweight?
baby can lose. You know, it's like, shouldn't you be asking yourself, why is the baby underweight? Rather than, but it makes it easy.
Yeah,
but that's the thing.
It's like
if it makes it easy, the average person's not going to care. They're going to be like, but it's easy. Why should I listen? It's easy. It's fine. Like, I don't understand.
Yeah, it doesn't make any sense. But yeah, that's all you need. All you need is to give people plausible deniability, and their brains and the way that they work, because they don't want things to change, will just take over, and it'll do the rest of the work for you.
Exactly.
And
like
that's kind of what's going to happen here. That's kind of what is happening.
Like it's kind of like how you said in cooking class, in my high school cooking class, they showed us that video of like, this is what factory farming really is. And after the like 1 hour video of everyone watching it, everyone was like, oh my God, like I'm not gonna eat meat now. Like, oh my God, what am I gonna do? But then by the time everyone woke up the next morning, they're like, what's for breakfast? Like bacon and eggs. It's like, cool. And then you just eat and then that's it. Like it was kind of the same thing with Super Size Me McDonald's. How he was trying to show you how unhealthy it would be if you, hypothetically speaking, ate that kind of stuff, supersized this stuff, you know, like how bad it could get because he gained so much weight. He lost like his libido. So many adverse health effects, how he would wake up with migraines because of his craving for the food. And it was crazy how bad it was for everyone. And then sales just went up.
Yeah, sales went up.
Like people didn't even see that as like, oh, I should eat that. But because you saw that, a week later you'd be like, how come I think I'll go for McDonald's. Yeah, I could go. Why do I want to get McDonald's now? That's weird. You know, it's like,
because it's already in your head. So now you're like, huh? And it didn't make any permanent change inside of your head as to, oh, McDonald's bad. Like
Because-
that's something you have to do over time for it to like stick. And like I don't eat McDonald's. I don't like McDonald's. It tastes disgusting to me. So I haven't eaten McDonald's in like years. But I mean, I still eat Jack in the Box. I still eat my breakfast from Jack in the Box, and that's arguably just as bad. Maybe not as bad, but still pretty high up there, even if it's not.
Because of all like the sodium and everything that's packed in it. But that's the thing. There's been too much positive advertising that has been ingrained in your head since you were a kid. You like you had no chance. You have no chance against multi-billion-dollar corporations that can just
The game is
blast
set
you.
before you come onto the board.
Exactly.
Like,
As a little kid, mommy, I want a Happy Meal. You know, you're that's it. You're done. By the time you reach that point, you're done. You don't have that sort of, when you're a little kid, you don't have that kind of critical thinking. But even when you do get critical thinking, it's like I said, everyone watched it, everyone was disgusted, but the sales went up anyways because it's just been like 30, 40, as long as they've been advertising, as long as they've existed, you've heard the red and gold. You think of McDonald's, you hear that ba-da-ba-ba-ba, you hear that I'm loving it. You hear everything because of how much has been blasted. Even if I spend my entire time with an ad blocker on my computer, but every time I go outside, you see the billboards, you see all the advertisements. Even if you don't see them, subconsciously, they're still going to affect you because you're getting hungry later. And you're like, I'm kind of hungry. And then you're like, oh, there's a McDonald's. Ooh, time to pull up.
also,
It's cheap. It's easy.
It doesn't help that the guy is not really trustworthy. The guy who did Super Size Me. There's a lot of sketchy shit he did to get to that level of weight, aside from just eating McDonald's. And when people asked him, like, wanted like basically what's it called in science? Peer review. Like they wanted to go over his data and see everything, right? He rejected releasing that data.
I was going to say, because it is kind of sketchy what he did too, because someone ate nothing but, I think someone else tested that and they ate nothing but McDonald's, but they exercised and they kept like up their routine and they were perfectly fine. But he just straight up started eating 3 meals a day and then would just sit at home and be like, oh, I'm fine, you know?
It's complicated,
Like I said, it is complicated because of course people's bodies can be different. People's bodies can react differently, right? But if for the most part, calories in, calories out, Newton's basic law, you cannot get basic law of physics of the universe. You cannot get more energy out of somewhere where there is not energy. Energy has to be used up. Energy will be used up as long as if there is more energy, something's processed. At the end, there'll be less energy. You know, like, you know, people are always like, oh, if I just plug in my phone into a charger and then plug in the charger like into a circle, I should get infinite energy, right? And it's like, no, because it's the process dissipating with heat, dissipating with the movement of the electrons, everything. There's still going to be less energy at the end. So of course, if you just have more movement with less calories, that's all you have to do. You just up your movement, you lower your calories.
But you also can't, like, just so that we don't confuse people, you also can't lose too much weight too quickly, because then other metabolic processes in your body are going to take over and you're going to start storing more energy than you're putting out through exercise, and you have to increase. That's why those game shows where they... That's why those game shows, like The Biggest Loser or the... What's it called? Where they put you, like, through an intense exercise schedule?
I think it is that one. But they end up bouncing back because their metabolism changes.
Worse. And now exercise doesn't work. Their body's immune from that level of exercise. So they have to exercise even harder to take down the pounds even more, which leads them to a never-ending cycle of needing to basically spend 24 hours a day exercising and drinking nothing in order to lose the pounds. And that's why the recommended is about 2 pounds a week you're supposed to lose
maximum. Like that's apparently that's a lot. Like I didn't know that, but it's funny, in the Samsung Health app it tells you like, hey, if you want to track your stuff and if you want to like set a goal, so let's say put like, okay, these are just numbers, right? So it's like 250, but I want to get at 200, and it tells you if you do it really hard, you can lose in 25 weeks because that's 2 pounds a week. But that's like really hard. Like it tells you you're like you have like 1,000 calorie deficit. So either you're not eating a lot or you are moving a lot. But of course, if you want to keep and maintain that lifestyle, you're gonna want to start with if you're starting at nothing, you can't just start by I'm gonna start running marathons. No, if you're starting at nothing, you want to just get up and move, let's say 30 minutes a day. And then you start moving an hour. You walk around, take a walk around the block for an hour a day. Then you start moving into jogging, and then you start moving into running, do any other kind of cardio, but you slowly start building up. Because it's like, it's kind of like if you just start doing insanity workouts, like you're going to throw up because of how hard it is. And even if you get used to it, it's still going to be bad because, like you said, your body's going to be used to only that kind of exercise, but it's not sustainable. You have to do something sustainable that you know you're going to be able to keep doing, because you're not going to be like, oh, I reached my goal. Wait, okay, I'm done. Like, even if you're not straight up sprinting all the time, you would still want to be taking your walks, still want to be keeping up the movement. And if not building up on it, just making sure that you're eating right and things like that, you know? And also, the thing is, there's no such thing as bad publicity, because McDonald's, as long as they, you know, even if someone's talking bad about McDonald's, they're still going to be like, well, it's publicity. No such thing as bad publicity. It was basically a free documentary. Huh?
How did GTA become such a big thing? It's because parents were outraged over the game.
Exactly.
That's how the first GTA got so big.
Isn't that crazy? And it's like, and the worst part is, it says it on the box, and yet they'll get mad at the creators of the game. And it's like, fuck you, you Karen cunt. Like, this game says 18 and up. It's not my fault you bought it or someone bought it for your child, and you can be...
Your child doesn't have fucking money. How is he going to buy a violent video game if you don't buy it for him?
I'm sorry you couldn't be fucked to check the gift that your uncle or his uncle gave to him, and you couldn't be... let's read what it says. 18 and up for strong sexual nudity. Oh my god, violence. Oh my god. Oh no, he can't play this game. This is ridiculous.
A prostitute and then killing her to get her money? How is this possible? How could my child be exposed to this?
Yeah, it's like, am I wrong for not parenting my child? No, it must be the video game creators that are wrong. Like, no, there's so many barriers between the video game and getting to your child that people will get outraged over anything.
Like, it's so fucking stupid. But yeah, that's basically how it is with McDonald's. Like, you created like free advertising for them.
You created an hour-long documentary, distributed everywhere. Yeah.
It's like he had a show after that, right? Called 30 Days Till or something like that. Yeah, I saw it in class, and I was watching it, and I'm like, this show and the way he portrays this show makes his Super Size Me thing feel even more disingenuous, because the very first episode is about having to live from nothing, and they kind of get some good some results. It's like, yeah, it's really, really hard, but it's doable, because his wife is vegan, and like they were like, oh, we're not going to take any of the money we made from Super Size Me, all of our previous jobs, we're just going to leave them, try to find a place, try to make it from zero, basically. We're not going to take any money. We're just going to go. We're going to get jobs. We're going to see how it is to live like an average lifestyle. And they made a documentary about that. But here's the thing. They said they could only get certain jobs, and like even being white, they couldn't do that. And it's like, but that's not what white privilege is. White privilege isn't, that you get benefits from being white. It's that you don't have certain obstacles blocking you. Like the company checking their names wasn't an obstacle to them getting that job. Which is like, and basically he framed certain things in such a way where it's very disingenuous towards like what the struggle he's talking about, where it makes certain claims and certain things that he says inside of Super Size Me feel very I've said it, disingenuous to say the least. It cast it in a very poor light. It's like, it makes it seem like he didn't do his research, basically. Like, even though he's experiencing this, he's not like learning anything about it. He's just saying, like, he's basically doing what we do, which is like saying the first thing that comes off the top of their head with the information they already have. And people treat that as like, oh, this is evidence for it's not. Remember, when it's something like that, like how we're doing here, is just two dumbasses on the internet. In that case, it was just one dumbass on a documentary with a TV show. Like, it's not much different.
Exactly. You don't got to listen to us, but you do got to eat the rich.
Yes.
And that's Broke Till Friday.
We're broke till Friday. Goodbye, my friends. We'll see you next week. Now I'ma go and beat my meat. And we're broke till Friday. Bye, my friends. We'll see you next week. And now I'ma go and beat my meat. And we're broke till Friday.